This week's Hump Day. Holla at your boys. Dwayne Stein and Andrew Makovic here with you. Excited to have our weekly podcast. And as promised last week, we talked about down payment. And this week, we're going to be talking to you about how to make a strong offer. We're going to give you our insights on how we help our clients win and what are some of the most important things that you need to make sure that you are doing. So, but before we get to that, Andrew, inflation, the economy is great, man. Everything is amazing. Could not be any better, right? Just ask the CPI. Of course, I'm being facetious. Yesterday was an absolute buzzkill. But what I can tell you is, we talk about this all the time. I had all my clients locked in because I knew the rates. I trust, but I make sure I verify. And I knew there was no way I was going to live through what that potential was. And sure enough, inflation came in, hot yesterday, meaning, DNA Nation, what that means is that you guys are out there still spending money and you still think the economy's great and everything is rocking and rolling. And, the experts want to say, oh, well, let's look at this, let's look at that, whatever. The numbers are what they are. And until spending slows down, we get off of those credit cards, some of this other stuff that we've got going on, until that stuff slows down, Andrew, it's going to be tough. But what this also means is, as we've chatted, no rate cuts coming anytime soon.
Mm-mm.
Right?
Right. Maybe two down the road, maybe.
Right. But
why?
What have you done for me lately, right? Is what this business is. And how can the Fed go in and go, okay, cool, let's do this, right? Based on the data, because the numbers are still coming in. And then we're going to see PPI tomorrow. We'll see what happens there. I got to believe that we'll continue to see that's going to be a little hot as well. Here's some good news, Andrew. Home equity is up, and this is your wealth for those of you who are homeowners, who aren't worried about what rates are or who took advantage of the rates in 20 and 21. Your wealth, how rich you are, 8.6% year over year. That's pretty cool. Here's what's a great number, too. You want to talk about feel good. Out of all homeowners in the country, 1.3, only 1.3% are underwater, which means negative equity, which means they owe more in their house than what it's worth. If you bring people with a mortgage into that who have a loan, it's only 2.1%. So again, when we talk about owning the values and the benefits of home ownership and it being a wealth building tool, this is proof of that, right? The other thing, let's talk about this because you mentioned this, Andrew, and we've talked about this. That old BLS report came out, right? And remember we talked about the 350,000 jobs, and that's the headline. Well, guess what? They revised that down, Andrew, not by one or two, by 124,000.
A lot.
124,000. So take 350 minus 124 is 225, and it was projected 220. That was the beginning of the poop show on rates when the momentum stopped. Yep. So again, manipulation. Here's some other things. They even revised December second revision down, another 43,000, Andrew. So we've got, in the last 60 days, they've revised jobs. And we talked about over 750,000 fake jobs last year created, if you take what they initially stated to the headline. So 167,000 jobs that they said that aren't there. That's an absolute gut punch because that does not get headlines.
No.
That doesn't get headlines, Andrew. So that is frustrating.
It's almost like fake numbers that we're getting punished on, and then they're going to revise them, which they always do. But we don't see that relief, right?
It's just a manipulation. And no headline comes out and goes, hey, we got it wrong. I mean, think about it, Andrew. Here's even more proof, right? And, this is what's amazing to me, okay? In the last 90 days, I want to break this down. Last 90 days, we've lost 898,000 job losses. Let's round it up to a million.
Yeah.
Right? A million job losses. You ready for some pain points here?
Let's hear it.
Full-time jobs are down 1.781 million. Is 1.781 million a larger number than 1 million? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes, right?
Right.
But we just told you we had a million job losses. But full-time, we had 1.781. Well, you don't want to know why? Because this administration, we count part-time jobs. So part-time jobs were up 909,000. And that's how they get to that number.
And those part-time jobs are really the seasonal jobs that we were talking
somebody
about.
Going, you know what?
Yeah.
I got to put food on the table, swallow my pride. So the quality job, regardless of what it is, at a full-time position, yet they're telling us the economy's rocking and rolling.
Right.
And the Fed, again, we keep talking about they're about to be backed into a bigger corner, because when you talk to all the Fed chairmen, they say, oh, well, if unemployment gets back to 4 or 4.1, we may have to cut rates. We're at 3.9.
Yeah.
And if they quit manipulating these numbers, in reality, it's about 4.4%. So, again, they're about to be in a position where they're going to have no choice. And, again, like we talked about, when we talk about the Fed cutting rates, that is not mortgage rates. So I think even before all this, we may see mortgage rates start to come down regardless. Here's a little bit more reality for you. Credit card delinquency, 3.3%. So not only is there over 1.3 trillion in credit card debt right now, 3.3%, that's the highest level since 2011. Living off of it right now. Mortgage delinquencies are up to 3.1%. It's a little frightening there.
It is a little frightening.
And small businesses, which we do not consider enough, which is really the strength of this economy, are struggling. They can't hire. And that is why I'm going to say it right here on Mortgage DNA Nation. And we got to remember this. You're going to start seeing bank failures any day now. Because your regional banks lend to these small businesses, and the small businesses aren't making enough money to go borrow at their cost to market, to do what they need to do. That's going to cause smaller banks and regional banks to fail. Plan on seeing that. So, with that said, let's get into our main topic this week.
Our main topic, yes.
On the Hump Day Holler, which is tips on how to make a strong offer. How to make a strong offer. And number one, Andrew, number one on my list is hire a realtor that can get the job done.
Right.
Hire a realtor that can get the job done.
Right.
What's your thoughts there? Agree?
I think that's right. I mean, it's proven that if you use a real estate agent, you're gonna sell your home for more money than if you did it by yourself, right? Than a for sale by owner.
Right.
But I think it's important to look at, with the realtors. It was funny for a little bit, right? There was a lot of realtors that hopped in the game, and it was this thing going back and forth, like, oh, look at the, like the 4 numbers on their MLS, and like if they're super young or new, don't use them. But I don't think that matters. I think it's going to come down to their skill sets, what they're strong at, right? I mean, that's the most important thing,
absolutely,
in my opinion.
Yes,
doesn't matter how long you've been doing it for,
right?
And they got to fight for you, right? Well, what are you looking at for some topics when you talk to your clients about the real estate agents? What do you consider it?
Number one,
the
do
good
they
characteristics,
are they familiar with the market that you're going to be purchasing in,
right?
Not just if I'm dealing with somebody here in Mississippi's 20 minutes away. If I'm dealing with somebody in Mississippi, do they have an agent that usually works in Baton Rouge but has their Mississippi license because it costs a couple bucks, right? So are they working in that market? And number two, hey, proof. What what do they do? Have you vetted them? What is their skill set? Right?
Right.
Are they on your team?
Right.
Right? Do they fight for you? Again,
Right.
just like we talked about last, you hire us as your loan officer, you need to be doing the same exact thing with your realtor and making sure that they know how to operate in that market. And because that helps as well. Maybe they know that selling agent, stuff like that, that can make a difference in the long run.
I think also the lost art of negotiating, right?
Oh,
Counter
yeah. I
offers,
mean,
right?
yeah.
Going, you need a dog in the fight, so you need somebody that's not going to give up for you,
No, absolutely. And understands how to manage that for you.
right?
Absolutely. 1,000,000%. All right.
So first thing, use a real estate agent, right?
Yes,
Topic
absolutely.
one, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yes. Number two, I wrote down, Andrew, here, know your options. For example, uh, loan programs,
Good
seller
point.
paid concessions. What
Right.
are your thoughts on that as far as
I,
knowing your options?
I think that's a good point, right? Like, so you're saying knowing your options as far as the loan that you're gonna have your pre-approval for, right?
In other words, hey,
Yeah.
if you're going to look at a house and maybe we work with them and we let them know that at rural development you can get up to 230,000, but if you go conventional FHA or another loan type, hey, you could go to
You can go
275.
more, right? Right.
Make sure that we're not putting in that contract at 275 rural development,
Right.
right? Let's make sure that you know what your options are as you get into this. And that's where it's important too. You talk, one of the things I'd add back to that realtor side is, do they communicate with the lender?
Right.
Right? Do they answer the lender? Because we're going to let them know, hey, listen, at this price point, they're maxed out on down payment. You may have to go get some seller concessions. You may
Right.
have to go get them some help on closing costs if we're going in at this price point.
And so that probably segues into your point of knowing how much you can ask for the seller concessions, because there are
Yeah.
limits, right?
Yes.
Depending upon the type of loan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's tremendous, right? Had one this week, and you talk about realtors who kind of got into the industry and don't know. Had one this week where the agent asked for 10 grand, and it was really 4.5% when the max they could get was 3%. And what do? Do you go back to the seller and go, hey, my bad, I screwed that up. Can we get that other 3 grand? Right? Like, so it's you got to kind of know that because
Because ultimately the buyer's not getting anything more than that threshold amount that's allowed.
the
So
buyer's done.
that's
There's
yeah,
nothing you can
or the
do.
buyer, right,
It's
right. So
right.
right,
The buyer's now done. You can't hide those fees. You can't say,
right,
hey, I'll give it to this person, give it to that.
right.
Like, you're done. That's the
It goes
most that you
back.
can get.
So what did you do? Did you have the price lowered or what?
We told them to go back and ask to lower the price,
Right.
and the seller was willing to,
That's good. Right.
But the seller also said, I'll lower it, but I want to see the appraised value. Right?
Fair.
Because now the
Right.
seller said, all right, if this thing appraised for 10 grand over what I'm asking, you're out. So, we opened ourselves up
Right.
there, or the realtor opened ourselves up to some scrutiny there. Luckily, we were good to go there. So, know your options. So, number one, hire a realtor that could get the job done. Number two, know your options. Number three here, Andrew, be realistic with your offer. Elaborate a little bit on that if you don't mind.
I think that's a good point. Are you willing when you're making an offer? You're looking at the home, you're looking at the condition of the house, where it's at, so location, condition, what comps are going for in the area. Just because you want to buy the house, it's not like it's a buyer's market. There's limited inventory.
Yeah.
So you're probably not going to be able to lowball people unless it's been on the market for 60, 80, 90 days and there's something wrong with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But are you willing to lose an offer on a home for a couple $1,000s?
That's a great point. And what I would add on to that is, are you serious about buying a home,
Right.
or you just out
Kicking
browsing
tires,
around,
right? Right.
right? Or you just out, hey, sounds good. And I think that is the biggest thing, because you mentioned lowball. This is not a market to try and get a
No.
deal. There's not deals right now, folks. So you got to be aggressive.
Well, you know what? There is. The deal is getting the equity in the home that you bought last year going forward, right? So
Sure.
that's going to be the deal, right?
That's right. That's right.
Hey, how
But
about this? How many times do you get the buyer that the first house they made the offer on, they could have got, but they got a little cute, didn't offer full asking or whatever you advise them to do. And every other home after that keeps going back to, it's not that house. It's not that house, right? It happens all the time, right?
all the time.
Yeah, right.
Because
It's crazy.
you're comparing it to what you really wanted. And
Really
would you
wanted.
lose out on it for?
Yeah.
$5,000, $10,000, which is, $20 in payment.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and
Right.
to have everything you had wanted. So that's why you got to make sure. And that's why I say, are you serious about buying a home?
Yeah.
Right. And not going to make an excuse. I mean, we all know what the rates are. We all know that. So are you serious about buying a home?
We know the rates. We know the inventory.
We know it inventory is low.
Yeah.
So, and that's why, understand this. Folks that are selling, and Andrew, we've talked about this in the past, but I've been preaching this on Mortgage Gumbo, Dad Cam, for over a year and a half now. And that is
the big
seller,
Ds.
the 4 Ds, right?
Yeah.
They're selling because of divorce, debt, death, or distance, meaning they're getting relocated.
Right.
That's it. Every seller to this point, that's what it's fallen into. Because it's not somebody who's selling because they want to move out of their 3% to go get 6.5%, 7.5%. Not one person. Because those people that I'm working with, you know what they're doing? They're leasing the house. So those aren't hitting the market. That's even more reason why you don't have inventory, and you got to make sure that you're being aggressive there.
That's a good point.
Number 4, and I have to bring this up, contingencies.
The C word. The C word.
The C word, right. And naturally, let's talk about folks not paying cash, right? Let's leave that 25% out. So, in your opinion, what are some contingencies that on how you work your files and how you work your loans to help your client maybe win? Because it doesn't always have to be taking something away.
Right.
I like to maybe throw a caveat, throw a little ad in there.
Right.
That the seller agent goes, hey, whoa, what is this? Right?
Sounds like to me you're talking about the golden ticket.
Yeah.
Your golden ticket, right?
Yeah.
Tell everybody, and I have that guarantee now too.
Yeah. Well, and that's the fast track pre-approval, right? Where they've been credit approved, which allows for a $5,000 guarantee, right? Which means when we go in, we make the offer. If we don't close on time and according to the contract, we give that seller $5,000, right? So that's how our people too are maybe winning if they come in $2,000 less or $3,000 less, right? Or even $5,000 less, because that offer is strong and it makes our buy. Hey, if you are going to be serious, like we said, number 3, be realistic about your offer and be a serious home buyer. When you're pre-approved and you present that fast track, that lets that seller know. Because again, going back to the 4 Ds, that seller may be selling because somebody passed away, debt, they lost a job, they got to relocate, right? Or their debt is just adding up and they got to get some bills and they just want to press start and get a refresh. So make sure that's that part. Another contingency, Andrew, that we use is an escalation clause.
Sure.
Right. And then I know you've got, talk about what you've done in the past and to help out.
Well, I think the biggest non-contingency thing is trying to get the people to qualify for 2 homes at once and not having to make it, they have to buy the sell. Right. I think that's the biggest killer. So
especially in today's market.
So if I'll explain to the buyer, hey, look, you got a house. I know you're going to sell it. Selling's easy. Buying's hard. Let's go in, buy this house. If you can afford both for right now, you'll sell your home probably before the first payment's due.
Yeah.
Then you can take all the money from the sale and do a recast down the road.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So recasting, guys, if you guys have any questions about that, we can go over it. But it's an easier way to re-amortize your payment based on the balance you're going to put down after you close on your home. Yep. But we can get into that down the road.
Yep.
So, you can do the escalation clause. You can do an appraisal gap. You can do an inspection waiver. I don't really like inspection waivers, but
that's one I kind of stand pat on. I tell people, look, we don't require it, but we recommend it.
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Right.
Because let's go find out if this is lipstick on a pig, and
Right.
then if you decide at that point you're still cool with it, rock and
And
roll.
go. The
Yeah.
biggest thing though, and this didn't really happen so much last year, but in 2022, and I think we talked about this in 2021 in the summers, I had buyers paying some of the seller's closing costs, if not all.
Oh, that's
And people
cool.
can think that's crazy, but it's just like, look, if you can buy the home at asking price and not have to go 30, 40 grand over in some areas that are hot, the seller is not going to have to worry about the home appraising, right? But you're also buying a home that you're financing less, and you're not going to get hit with the difference in the property taxes in the future when they reassess it.
I
So
like
that's
that.
that's an X factor, right?
I like that.
Right.
I like that. And what I like about that is, my thing is I'm always trying to let's intrigue the seller when
Right.
they see one of our offers, right? Let's intrigue them to go, hey, call me. I want them to call me, the seller agent,
Yeah.
right? Because now I can let them know just how great you, the buyer, are, and, get you elevated to the top of the list. So,
Right.
you know, that's the difference. Is your loan officer somebody you working with? That's the difference of having somebody that's working for you, right? When you hire them and looking to get you in the home. Because
Right.
if you want the house and you are that serious buyer, then we want to make that happen for you. So
Right.
good stuff there on those contingencies, no doubt about it.
And then I think one thing to add in there too is, guys, if you're looking to buy a home and you're serious, you better be pre-approved, not pre-qualified.
Yeah, let's
Right.
call that a number 5. Let's add that, right?
5.
Let's
Let's
make
do it.
people love list. Let's make number 5. I think Andrew, spot on. Great job there, as expected and as usual.
Thank you.
Pre-qualified versus pre-approved. You want to be pre-approved. Kind of tell Andrew, our audience, the difference there between pre-approved versus pre-qualified.
I don't even know how to explain pre-qualify because it doesn't even register in my head.
Right.
Like when I'm getting somebody a pre-approval letter, it's you're having that conversation, but it's after that calling them back. Hey, based on everything you told me, it looks good. Here's what I need, right? I want your assets. I want your bank statements. I want your W-2s. I want your most recent pay stubs. I want the list of if you haven't worked on a job for 2 years, where else have you worked? All these things are going to go into the findings that we're running for you to make sure that those automated findings that we're running, that they are that it holds true, right?
Yeah.
Somebody that's pre-qualified could be as simple as, yeah, you got a heartbeat and you've been working for 2 years. Yeah, what do you? Yeah, you can afford it. I think sounds good. I mean, I don't get that. Like, why would you want to make the biggest financial decision on sounds good, right?
Client this week went in. Realtor calls me, says I need a pre-approval offer. Never worked with the realtor. Person happened to hear me on radio. Goes out, looks at a house, puts in a $450,000 offer. Andrew, $450,000. Credits of $592, and they've got $5,000 to put down. So what was the thought process there?
Yeah, right.
What was and realtor? I know everybody's feeling a little desperate, but I called the realtor and was kind of like, what were you doing? Well, if I didn't show them, somebody else would. Show them a $450,000 house, their credit's challenged, which we can work with that. But most importantly, they've got no money to put down. They've got no options for gifts. Right. So we've got nothing, right? So those are the things there that is the difference between pre-qualified versus pre-approved. Pre-qualified isn't worth the Kleenex you blow your nose in. Right? Or the piece of paper you write that it's written on. Anybody, hey, I make $100,000 a year. I'm self-employed electrician. Hey, that's awesome. And then you get the taxes and they write it down to $15,000.
Right.
That's the difference.
Truth be told, I had somebody called me yesterday. They want to put an offer in a 1.5, little over $1.5 million home. And I was like, they wanted to put the offer in last night. And I said, listen, I'm not giving you a pre-approval. I don't care how big the home is. I would love to do that jumbo loan, but I need all the stuff. So I said, what you should probably do is you have the assets, go make a cash offer, show them your verification deposits. And then down the road, if you want to, use, we could refinance and get your money back, or we can probably close on time, but let them know it's cash offer. But maybe you might do, some financing, but you show them your verification and deposit. I didn't want to just go and zip something up and take them for the word on that, because in the end, like, I'm a human and I care about people. I also care about the realtors and the sellers too, right? Like,
And not just you're a human, you want to do the right thing, but
when the
it's
right
your
thing,
reputation. It's
right?
your You send over that pre-approval letter, and then the old 2 weeks later get the yeah, you're not qualified,
Right.
right? Well, why'd you send this over? Right. Then all of a sudden they go from, oh, thank you for this, to they quickly forget that we advised them that this letter really isn't worth anything,
Yeah.
right? So then it's your reputation. And that, I think, is a big thing, because at the end of the day, we know buying a home right now is brave. So we want to make sure we're doing what's right for you and protecting you. I don't want
Right.
you losing earnest money like on that type of deal. I'm sure 1.1 or $1.3 million house, they're not putting down $500, right? So we don't
Sure.
want you holding a house with 20 grand and then you don't have your outs,
Right.
right? I mean, that's the biggest thing. That's what contingencies are too. And that's why we talk about having a realtor that could get the job done. Or they protecting you, because the return of my money is more important than the return on my money. How do I
That's
get my money when things are pooping the bed?
right.
How do I get out of this contract? Right?
Right.
What are my outs? And that's with investments, that's with anything. Just my thoughts there. So,
So we went over 5 things on how to make an offer. I think but it always comes down to, with all 5, you got to have good communication between your lender and your realtor. I mean, think about that. That's just 2 parts. You have the lender, you've got the realtor. Most likely you have a home inspector, you've got the title company, you have an appraiser. I mean, it's almost like a what's that race called when you hand the baton? Yeah, relay. It's like a
relay
relay,
race.
right?
Oh,
You
yeah.
got,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but
And
there's a
that's
lot of
why
parts.
that's why it's important to, hey, you got to trust the team. Title.
Right.
We've thought about
Right.
title, all those kind of things too. So, it's a lot. And that's why we understand the thought of buying a house is stressful, but the process doesn't have to be.
Right.
If you trust your loan officer and you vet your realtor and you make sure that you're working with somebody that knows how to get you from start to finish, from A to Z, and doesn't skip steps.
Right.
There's a process, and the process should be an easy one. It shouldn't be stressful. Good stuff, Andrew. You
All
got
right.
anything else, my man?
No, I can't think of anything else other than baseball season starting. Looking forward to that. I know you're in the mix right now with your son.
Yep.
My little guy is going to start in about a month,
Good.
and we got baseball season. I mean, it's just we're about 2.5 weeks away, right?
Enjoy
From
them.
opening day.
My son's a senior. We're down to 19 games, so enjoy it. And then seeing what happens from there. If he's going to play at the next level or whatever, we'll see what that
Oh, he's playing. He's
future
playing at
holds.
the next level. Come on.
We'll see. We'll see. Couple people interested and stuff
Good.
like that. But with that being said, enjoy it, man. It's a good time. And then 19 games left. That's it's a little bit of a reality check for me.
Well,
So
you're not counting the playoffs yet, right? Those are just 19 regular season games.
right.
You got playoffs coming, baby. You
Yeah.
got what, like
Yeah.
maybe 29 more games to go.
Yeah. There we go. We go. There you go. Don't
There
put me
you
on the
go.
spot there.
Come
All right,
on.
DNA Nation, you know how to find us. Google Dwayne Stein, Google Andrew Makovic. Go follow us, and we appreciate you. We appreciate being part of your Wednesdays here with the Hump Day Holla. This was a good show, Andrew.
I
28
agree.
minutes of just greatness, man, and good stuff there. Till next week, DNA Nation, we'll check you out then. Holla at you both.